Taylor. If you were on Twitter yesterday, you saw Taylor Lorenz getting in a fight with Natalie Wynn, I believe her name is. I just know her as Contrapoints. And it didn't, in my estimation, it did not go well for Taylor. Of course, it's not just about
socialist intellect.
Shh, Natalie, 1 second. It's not just about winning, of course, but she just looked, in my opinion, kind of insane. So the two of them got into it, and we will run down exactly what happened. But first, like just a little overview. So Taylor Lorenz is an independent. Taylor cringe. Taylor is an independent journalist. She was working at Washington Post until 2024, and she left the Washington Post following an internal investigation. So apparently she posted an image on Instagram that labeled President Joe Biden a war criminal. And she left after that. Some people think that she was fired. Some people think that they asked her to resign, and she and others believe or purport that she left of her own accord. I have no idea which one is true. I would like to believe her and her experience, but it's getting harder and harder as she clearly just keeps lying and doubling down to what end, I am not entirely sure. So that is Taylor. And then we have Contrapoints, who is one of my favorite people on the internet. Definitely my favorite person that is doing video essays. And I have a clip of one of her best ones. Where is it? Right here. So she does these amazing video essays. They're not always about politics, but they always have like a philosophical approach to them. And it's always like about one thing, but then it expands out. And they're like almost 3 hours long sometimes. And she spends months and months and months making them. And she has all the sets and the costumes and the amount of work that goes into these is incredible. And I don't think anybody else is doing it right now. I don't see anybody else making like that kind of deep content, like esoteric content. And I really, really love it. Of course, my like binging brain, my internet brain is like, put out more videos. Do 5 of these a month, shoot it into my veins, right? But she's like Fiona Apple. If anyone here is a Fiona Apple fan, that lady puts out one album like every 7 years. And I love every single one of them. I haven't really loved the latest ones, but one came out when I was in middle school. One came out like at the end of high school. One came out when I was like end of college. Like I think it's like literally 5 to 7 years between albums, to the point where you'd almost forget about her. And but it was always a wonderful time when the album actually did come out. And that's how I feel about Contrapoints. She just makes these incredible videos. Her latest one, called Conspiracy, is so good. I also recommend watching her videos that are about Twilight. I am not a Twilight fan at all. I've never seen any of the movies, never read any of the books. The closest I've been is watching Ethan and Ela and the crew respond to Twilight. But the videos aren't just about Twilight, right? Like, she makes it about so much more than that. And she also has a great one about J.K. Rowling, which is really good as well. Contrapoints is a trans woman. And so her opinions on J.K. are really, really thoughtful and incisive. But here she is talking about something that is related to what the feud was about on Twitter. So again, this is from Contrapoints' new video, Conspiracy, where she talks about the psychology of cults and the sociology of cults.
Their complaint is that the elite are not people like us. Socialist intellectuals tend to be very optimistic about transcending gut-level blood-and-soil nationalism by redirecting attention to intellectual class analysis.
So basically, she's saying what people were saying on Twitter, which is that anti-Semitism is not a problem on the left. That we're above that. That's literally, and this was months ago that she put this out. It's like she saw it coming. Yeah, 3 months ago.
But anti-Semitism is the socialism of fools, and there's a lot of fools. Leftism, unfortunately, does not inoculate people against foolishness.
Duh! Aren't we seeing that? And let me tell you, the fools lined up in her comments, including Taylor. The echo in her house?
Socialist revolutions are always at risk of turning nationalist. Stalin diverged from Marx, declaring socialism in one country, and despite his role in defeating Hitler, he eventually went on to carry out his own little purge of rootless cosmopolitans, that is, Jews. Fools of the world unite. In a video
Okay, so basically, yeah, she's saying that you can be a leftist and still be anti-Semitic, because being anti-Semitic is often tied to populism. Like, they are the global elite, right? They're not like us. So clearly she has an eye for this kind of thing. And she pointed out a little piece of it here. So June 29th, a couple days ago, she responded to this video by a man named Rathbone, who we will talk about shortly. Rathbone made a video basically saying that every president except for JFK were essentially licking the boots of Israel, even though Israel didn't exist until 1948. Every U.S. president not named JFK. And here he is pretending that this is like the Wailing Wall in Israel, I believe. Okay. So someone says, this is anti-Semitic, right? I mean, it has nothing to do with Israel per se. It's something related to Judaism, not Zionism. This is anti-Semitic, right? Right. Like the Wailing Wall is not, I mean, it's in Israel, right? And then Natalie says, are you guys just now noticing that like 50% of the discourse on this app is Jew hate? Now, at no point does she say anything about leftism, right? Is Rathbone a leftist? Yes. And that is why a certain someone jumped in to sweep for him and all the male leftists that say anti-Semitic stuff, as she usually does, right? So she says this, and when I read this, I thought, yeah, it's probably even higher than that. And I was really thinking more about like the right-wing anti-Semitism. I honestly thought this guy was right-wing, and it just felt like a QAnon thing because they're just so obsessed with JFK. You see how the horseshoe theory works. Okay, so this happens. She calls out Rathbone, not even intentionally targeting him, but Taylor Lorenz shows up, and we will see why. Are you trying to claim that 50% of the leftist discourse on this app is Jew hate? She never said leftist. Like, ever. Okay. Oh, hang on one second. I didn't add all my things to this. Hi, everyone. I don't have chat up on here. I can't see it. One sec, y'all. I just want to make sure I at least have chat on here. There we go. Hi, everyone. Yeah, so she was not talking about leftism specifically at all. But of course, Taylor had to insert herself and make it about leftism. So then Natalie's like, okay, we can talk about leftism. So Natalie says, no, I'm not claiming that. And Taylor says, so what is the claim? The claim is literally that 50% of the discourse is Jew hate. the discourse, the conversations that are happening on this app are anti-Semitic. The app is literally owned by a Nazi. You can say all the anti-Jewish stuff you want. Like, Taylor, stop being obtuse and stop like making yourself a victim when no one was talking to you. So what is the claim? Because you started by making a claim about this app and then started talking about the left. So just trying to understand the convo. What? Okay, so she came back to this apparently. She came back to this top tweet after reading through this thread. So, do you genuinely not get that this is referencing a conspiracy theory that the Zionists killed JFK? Of course it's fucking Vadim. This man is everywhere. Why is this man everywhere? I don't think that's what the poster was referencing. Rathbone knows that JFK was pro-Israeli, and I'd be surprised to find out that he was remotely believes that was the case. Well, then what is he saying? What is he even saying in that video? I can't help but jump in when I see you making a statement that, in my honest opinion, does not help address genuine anti-Semitism at all. Pointing the finger in the wrong direction so strongly just contributes to the hysteria that keeps us from blah, 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 blah. Okay? This is another post from Rathbone in which he says, man, I didn't think anyone could rehabilitate Hitler's image, and then Netanyahu came along. To me, that means, yeah, Hitler was kind of based for what he did. Because this Jewish guy in Israel and what he's doing, right? Okay, so Natalie says, Taylor, look at the thread you're responding to. I cited an example of blatant anti-Semitism. And then a bunch of leftists jumped in to say that, no, that's not anti-Semitism. Nobody was talking specifically about leftism until the leftists showed up to talk about anti-Semitism and leftism. There's a phrase that I use a lot online because it always happens in the comment section. A hit dog will holler. It means if someone feels like they're being accused, they're going to let you know. If you say something and it's about them, they're going to pipe right up to let you know that you were right. So a bunch of leftists jumped in to say that, no, that's not anti-Semitism. There is no leftist anti-Semitism. I dug into this thread because I remember seeing that tweet too of some moron being like, anti-Semitism is like incompatible with leftism. It doesn't make sense. We don't have it. It's not a thing. Like, that is so dumb. Not even true. But either that person deleted it or I just couldn't find it while I was digging. I don't see this as just a negligible fringe issue, right? It's not like just some crazy people on the left are being anti-Semitic. It is a problem. Anti-Semitism across the board is a problem. Racism is also prevalent in leftist circles. And so is misogyny. Like, all of the systemic issues that exist in the world also exist in the leftist community. Because you're human, you're not perfect. You were still raised and socialized a certain way. And because of that, you have certain biases. And if you think that being a leftist just absolves you of those things, then you're not paying attention to them. And you're not unpacking them and really dismantling them. Idiots. I don't see people saying that leftist anti-Semitism doesn't exist. Well, it was there, Taylor. I also saw it. I can corroborate that. But if you say 50% of this app is Jew hate, look at the twist she's taking here. If you say 50% of this app is Jew hate, then point to a communist creator, of course people will ask you to clarify. People being you and all of your other nutjob leftist friends. If someone's being anti-Semitic, it doesn't matter if they're leftist or not. I don't understand these people's inability to like read a sentence and comprehend that what the sentence means instead of adding all of this weird subtext on top of it. Nowhere did she say that this is only a leftist problem and leftists are all anti-Semitic. But she's basically confirming it. It seems like you're conflating anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism too. What? He's not. The thing is, they have made the definition of Zionism very broad. And they have also made the definition of anti-Zionism to include at least a little bit of anti-Semitism. Like, can we admit that? Can we admit that some people who call themselves anti-Zionist are also anti-Semitic? Because Rathbone said that about himself. Here we go.
There's not really much to be said for whatever Ethan says here. Congrats.
So this is Ethan. Ethan responded, and we'll see that. But I think it bears showing now that, oh, he's just a communist. He's not anti-Semitic.
Congratulating the person for, I don't know, calling my post anti-Semitic. Look, if being against genocide means that I am also an anti-Semite, punch my fucking ticket, okay? That's my reaction right there. Punch my goddamn ticket. I'm a fucking anti-Semite. If that's what it takes to be anti-genocide, if that's what it takes to stand up and say we condemn the Israeli state for its apartheid, ethnic cleansing, and genocide, and that makes me an anti-Semite, then so be it, because I'd rather be an anti-Semite than pro-genocide.
Literally nowhere does it say that you have to be anti-Semitic to be anti-genocide or even anti-Israel. No one is saying that, and no one forced you to upload this fucking video. If being anti-Zionist means I'm an anti-Semite, well, I guess I'm an anti-Semite. So fucking gross. So gross. So that's Rathbone. He's a really cool guy. Oh, and also, I love this part. So he shares this. Ethan Klein and somebody named Contrapoints called me an anti-Semite for satirically pointing out Israel's vice-like grip on American presidents. It was a terrible, stupid video. And whether you're admitting here you're an anti-Semite. So, like, it's not like you didn't mean it to have those undertones. But look what we got. We got Harley. We got Harley in chat from the fucking top ropes. Oh, damn. It's that guy that had a unique relationship with one of his high school students when he was her teacher. Creepy ass dude. I don't know what that's about. I did not have enough time to look into this like Rathbone high school teacher thing. Let's see if we can find anything quickly. I see I tried. School teacher. He used to be a music teacher who quit teaching. Who quit teaching to start a musical duo with his then 14-year-old student who appears in some of his videos. Ew, is that true? Ew. Gross. This will hang on. We have a snarker in chat. This will follow you everywhere. I don't care if people like you dislike me or think that I'm some shameful, horrible person. I don't care. This will follow you everywhere. Get real. Because you think so? Because you think that watching H3 is going to ruin my life, that means it will? Your magic has no power here, as they say. It really doesn't. she was 18 or 19? Why are people saying she was 14? Oh, you guys are talking about the girl. Yeah. So yeah, that's apparently that is Rathbone. I don't know how true that is. But that is what is on here. And I think it's really interesting that when y'all are, I think it's interesting that when snarkers have an issue with someone, it's never enough to just be like, I disagree with them. It's always, they're a pedophile. They did blackface. Like just calling up either made up or very old, terrible things that they've done. It's very Russian propaganda. Like compromat. Do you guys know what compromat is? It's also like what Scientologists do. When you become a Scientologist, they make you tell them all the bad things that you've ever done. And they say that it's kind of like purging. But then if you try to leave Scientology, they publicize all of the bad things that you did. So if you find yourself doing that, you might be in a cult. If you find yourself attacking people, attacking their character to that degree, you might be in a cult, because that is a thing. Okay, here it is. Kompromat is a Russian term referring to compromising information used to damage a person's reputation, often for blackmail or to exert influence. It's a strategic tool in political and business spheres involving the collection, storage, and dissemination of potentially damaging information. This information can range from financial crimes to sexual misconduct, and its release can be intended to manipulate or control individuals, including silencing them. And this is why I made the video about the marathon survivor and Ethan's stupid, poor taste video about it. Because you can only use that shit against someone when they feel ashamed of it. I feel no shame for clarifying the background of that video. These cats are going nuts. I feel no shame about clarifying the background of that video. Not even a sliver. You can call me a pedophile all you want. I am a gay woman. Do you know how many times I've been called a fucking groomer and a pedophile by the people that you pretend to hate on the right? Forgive me if I don't give a fuck about your opinion, because if you're sounding like those nut jobs, you have lost the plot. You are in a cult. You are in a cult. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, if whoever that is being annoying, they can leave. Okay. So Rathbone says he's anti-Semitic, kind of stepping on Taylor, saying that leftist anti-Semitism is not a huge problem. And then she says this: Zionism is a Nazi ideology. And I've seen leftists saying that in a couple of places, so I wanted to look it up for myself. All right. So in the beginning of Hitler's reign, he was very cool. He and the Nazis were very cool with Jewish people in Germany leaving, German Jews in them leaving Germany to go to Israel, because they're like, ew, Jews, like, that's fine. If that's where they want to go, peace the fuck out, right? They were essentially pushing them out at that point, expelling them to Israel. But then something happened. The scales kind of tipped after the war started, and they started really ramping up their final solution against the Jews, aka killing them all, right? And Hitler got worried that too many Jews were now going to Israel. or to Palestine as it was under British rule at the time. Apologies for getting that backwards. That there were too many Jews setting up camp in Israel or in Palestine, and that it was going to create another base for world Jewry during the war. And so at that point, he stopped letting Jewish people leave Germany for Palestine and instead just killed them. And then in 1943 and 1944, the Germans considered bombing Jewish cities in Palestine, even as the Nazi Empire was collapsing. The Third Reich's plans for the final solution extended to the Middle East. So I found that interesting. So Hitler never liked Zionism. He saw it as something useful. He saw it as a way to get rid of Jews, but then he was like, oh shit, there's so many Jews over there. They're going to like coalesce. They're going to like get together and maybe like stop me from killing all the Jews here. Y'all need to chill out. So I just thought that was interesting because I have seen people say what Taylor says here about Zionism being a Nazi ideology. It was not. I mean, maybe she means that as like Zionism means that people, like Palestinian people are treated the way Jews were treated by Hitler. But it isn't a Nazi ideology. That's not true. That's not something that Hitler was a fan of. So more misrepresentation, more lies from Taylor. I don't think anybody's surprised by that. Let's see. It's so embarrassing for these people to quote promote videos that have been cut to the point of being completely misleading. Yeah. I mean, they're always going to do that. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not worth fighting with these people. They're never going to be reasonable people. That's not what they're here to do. Right? Did you guys notice that my screen hasn't frozen at all tonight? We love that. Turns out my computer's storage was too close to full. Okay, so she says Zionism is a Nazi thing. Natalie says, you are the one making this conflation. If anti-Zionism sometimes means opposition to genocide in Gaza, which is, I think, that kind of anti-Zionism a lot of us are, and other times means the Zios killed JFK because he was the only president they couldn't control, maybe Hitler had a point, I think that will have bad consequences. Yes, so Natalie is saying maybe the umbrella for anti-Zionism is a little too wide. Maybe on like the edges of the umbrella, we're getting a little hand wavy. We're like, oh, they can be a little anti-Semitic because they don't want genocide to happen, which is literally what Rathbone said, right? Sure, if being an anti-genocide makes me an anti-Semite, yeah, I am one. And everyone's like, that's cool. He's a communist. Nowhere here did I or anyone, Taylor, you are insufferable. Did I or anyone replying to this thread that I've seen say the second thing? Yeah, of course they're not going to say it out loud. Like, what are you talking about? Of course they're not going to say it out loud. This is like the semantic abuse that I've been talking about with Taylor and Kat. And it's interesting because they're writers for a living. So they're very good at it. Anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism. And I think when your content is being used by a Zionist like Klein. Huh? Who's bringing up Ethan Klein? Nowhere in this entire thread at any point did she say that. She has not talked about Ethan or anything related to Ethan, Hassan, any of that drama. But here comes Taylor to bring it up because she can't think about anything else. Like, the only way she would know this is if she's like following Ethan and what he's posting in his stories and all of that. Obsessed. I think when your content is being used by a Zionist like Klein, again, the idea of Ethan being public enemy number one is so freaking stupid. Thank you, Alex. Thank you so much. I need to make sure I have that sound on. Let me get my super chatties on. There it is. Justice for Wheat Thins. Ela roasted Taylor? Where did she roast her? On Instagram? We'll look at it because I did put up the I know that. Thank you, Alex. I don't know why I played twice. Okay, so yeah, nowhere has anybody mentioned Ethan Klein. So watch this shit. You might want to consider that your message could have been communicated with more nuance. Stop policing the way other people talk about things. I don't think this issue is reducible to Hassan versus Ethan. No one mentioned Hassan here. Girl, you opened the door talking about Ethan Klein. Like, it's just so disingenuous. We know what you're doing. It's so silly. I said if your post is being leveraged by a well-known Zionist, Ethan Klein, half of the people here, and we all know what camp you're in, it probably is worth clarifying your message. And then she got no response from Natalie. 2 hours later, she comes back to say, because clearly she was just thinking about it nonstop. Just reiterating that if a well-known Zionist was using my post to further his bad faith hate campaign against people who have been calling out the genocide in Gaza, I'd consider if I was effectively communicating my message. Just sharing for posterity. Just the most passive-aggressive, again, I'll say it, mean girl shit. Just the most mean girl shit. Sharing for posterity, meaning you're going to regret this. This fucking passive-aggressive bullshit. Also, calling out the genocide in Gaza does not make you immune from criticism about other things. Someone criticizing you does not mean they're trying to silence you as a voice for Palestinians. Like, how dumb are you? Oh, this is great. I think this was earlier at some point, but I have a point to make here. So they're talking about the presidents and blah, blah, blah. And Taylor goes, not going to litigate this video. She literally commented on this video and has been litigating Natalie's points about this video. And then she goes, not going to litigate this video. But I think that when making claims like 50% of the discourse on this app is Jew hate, it's extremely important to note that 99.9% of anti-Semitism on this app is from the far right, actual neo-Nazis who Musk has embraced, not communist TikTokers. I do not think that those percentages are right at all. And also, like, why are you sweeping for this guy? Why are you sweeping for Rathbone, the communist? And she keeps calling out that he's a communist, and I'm not really sure why. But I do know why she's sweeping for him. I think I might have. There he is. Okay. Here's why. She's following literally his account, some other account of his with only 3,000 followers. So that's his real one. This is probably a fan account. And this is also a fan account. She is obsessed with this guy. I'm not saying it in a sexual way. I'm just saying she really likes his content and is caping for him hard. Hard, hard, hard. Okay, but the point that I wanted to talk about here, yes, is the not going to litigate this video. This is something that I am learning that Taylor says when she doesn't want to go down an avenue she doesn't know enough about. I'm not going to litigate it. So it makes it sound like, oh, you're being so weird about it, right? Like, why do you even want to talk about that? It doesn't mean anything. How I know this is she said something similar to me in my DMs. When I asked her for proof about what Zionist nonsense Ethan was spreading. She said, I do not have time to educate you on this whole thing. And I said, he believes in a two-state solution. Again, I'm not going to argue about Israel. That's literally all you do online. What are you talking about? You cooked her. Like, what are you saying? I am actually speaking to people involved. You are not. Yeah, like Ethan's basement. So yeah, that like gave me a flashback to her saying the same thing to me of being like, I don't have time for this. Even though I've been DMing with a fucking random person about it. All of a sudden I don't have time to educate me. Girl, I've seen very few people online speaking with less information than you lately. To be fair. Okay, so yeah, so we have the, yeah, I'm definitely a anti-Semite if I'm anti-genocide. We have Rathbone saying that. Rathbone, Taylor's favorite. He also said this, which is interesting. God chose some little bitches, apparently. He said this today. 15,000 views. God's chosen people is not Israelis, it's Jews. That's a term for Jews, not Israelis. That's anti-Semitism. Cut and dry. That's not anti-genocide. That's not anti-Zionism. That is being hateful about Jews. That is calling all Jews little bitches. God, and then let's look at the comments that this communist, which I guess that like makes him immune from criticism. Let's see what kind of audience he is courting here. God has terrible taste in friends. Also, they're soft, whining little creatures with no backbone or soul. Dehumanization, no soul. That's like a known anti-Semitic trope, right? I mean, I'll say this for Rathbone. He is being very honest about his anti-Semitism. I honestly wish more leftists were like this, because then we'd know who to listen to and who not to listen to. Hey, this app looks awesome, right? Okay, then what's this one? Oh, here we go. And then here's Taylor in that thread. Basically saying that being against a genocide isn't enough. Crashing out, calling Ethan a Zionist when he literally says Israel is committing a genocide. Also, donates money for Palestine. Cried about the murders of Palestinian children. Voted against Netanyahu while he lived in Israel. Like, this is your public enemy number one. This is the person that it is worth going after to this degree. By the way, Contrapoints, you're going to be a well-known Zionist soon too. Yeah, because they just say things. They just paint people how they want. So what Taylor says is, plenty of Zionists pay lip service to the genocide. So now being anti-genocide, if you're Jewish, means that you're just paying lip service and you're full of shit. Unless you are like Matt Lieb. If you are someone who doesn't think Israel should be bombed off the face of the earth, and that there should be a reasonable solution to what is happening right now, because millions and millions of people aren't just going to disappear, then apparently you're just paying lip service and you're not serious about being anti-genocide. Ethan Klein isn't anti-genocide enough. Like, these people's brains are voted against. He voted against Netanyahu more often than he smoked crack. Thank you for the reminder of that, Alex. Fucking crazy, man.